Howdy y'all, and welcome to the DuFrane Watches YouTube channel. My name is Steven. I'm the founder of DuFrane. This channel is typically just about how I go about designing watches, how I go about assembling watches, just different interests that I have. And so today I wanted to share with you an assembly of one of the new Travis pieces. So how do I take this, turn something into this from all of this? So what I've got on the bench here are all of the different components. The Sellita SW200 movement, the case, the crystal's already pressed in, the spacer, the movement holder, the dial, hands, these little screws here, the movement holder screws, so on and so forth. So what I wanted to do is just kind of walk you through and tell you a little bit more about the Travis, the Mark II edition, the new version that is just out. And I've been building these here in the shop for a bit for different pre-order sections that I've had released, and they're just now available and they're shipping, so I've got to get busy and keep assembling. So 3 different colors. This orange or burnt orange is it's called the 40 acres. There's a saddle brown, and there is a slate gray with a linen dial. So the Sellita SW200, let me go ahead and I'm going to zoom in a little bit here so y'all can see a little bit more clearly. The SW200, fantastic movement, been using it for years. It is just a rock solid movement, very accurate. I do a lot of tuning and testing to them to get them to run, they usually leave the shop around +2. That's regulated into 1 position, just mind you, but very accurate, very durable movement. Great luck with these movements. I'm going to show you the start to end on this assembly. So the first thing that we do is get the date wheel to flip. So what I mean by that is you're going to notice as I turn the stem around to rotate the hour wheel, you're going to notice this little wheel here start spinning. There's a spring-loaded lever on it that catches one of the notches of the date disc, and you'll see that it flips. So the optimal thing here is whenever a watch hits midnight, you want that date to flip. So I'm spinning this around, and you can kind of see that wheel starting to get close to that catch. Now it's spring loaded, so there's getting to be some tension on it. And then you go very slowly so that you don't pass the point of flip. And once it goes, boom. So it's in a hack position, so it's not going to, there's no, no movement of the watch. You can see the balance isn't spinning or anything, so it's not going to change the time. And so now I've got a good solid starting point where I can affix the hands straight at 12 o'clock. So let me get these feet catches or latches pulled out. But the new Travis is, I've had the Travis for a couple of years now, and it has been a very popular watch. I had 4 different colors at launch. There's still just a few colors left, the black and the lagoon, just a handful of those each left if you happen to like those particular colors. But it was time for a refresh in terms of some new colors and some new features. And what were some of those features? Well, let me make sure I can get this seated, and I'll show you what I'm doing here. There's 2 little dial feet that actually slide into those little holes that I just on the movement, the 2 little areas, and I'm going to look at them real quick because they're just a little, let's see if you can see this. You can see that this one is a little bent. So sometimes during shipping they get a little bent, and this is a good example of one that got just slightly bent. These feet, though, they're very delicate. You don't want to overextend them, but they can be manipulated in that sense of straightening them out. So let's try that again. So again, these little dial feet are going to go through the movement here, and these little latches here then hold it down. But in any event, the Travis was due for a little bit of an update, and I got a lot of feedback from folks over the years on things that they like, things that they wish were improved or different. And that's exactly what I want to do. Is I always want to have that feedback loop so I can try to improve products. I've started this nomenclature, if you will, of calling them the Mark whatever, Mark II, Mark III, Mark IV. The Bergstrom happens to be on the fourth iteration. And so this is the Travis Mark II, and just getting the little dust particles off of it, lint and dust. The Mark II then has some updates over the original version. The most noticeable one, as you're looking at it now, is going to be a date window. So the original one none of them had a date window. This one now, all of them have a date window. So I can't please everybody all the time, but hopefully those that have been waiting for and hoping for a date window on a Travis, I won't say your prayers have been answered because it's just a watch, but that at least you do have that option now. So let me move a couple things out of the way here, and I'm going to show you this hand setting tool. So this is how we go about setting the hands. There is an hour, minute, and second hand on these little plungers, and so I'm going to get this hour hand kind of flat, and then I will move it very slightly to make sure it's straight in terms of being, let me see how that looks, being straight up and down in that 12 o'clock position. So that doesn't look too bad, but I'm going to adjust it just slightly over, because again, this is the critical part of your dial, of your hands being lined up to the dial, and when it points to 1 o'clock, it's actually pointing to 1 o'clock and not, 1:02, 1:03. So it's an important part of the process. It takes a couple of minutes. And then once we get her down there, we'll take a look. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay. So we'll move on to the next hand. So the other change for the Mark II is, in fact, the bracelet is different. So the original one had a 3-link, solid end link bracelet. I went ahead and during the Barton Springs update, the last one I did, which is the third version, I went with a 5-link bracelet. And that's the first time I've used a 5-link bracelet, and I got a tremendous amount of feedback on it. As well, me just testing it before I went to production, I was so happy with that. I've had 5-link bracelets in the past, and they're just so comfortable. And it's comfortable in the way that there's just a lot more articulation. So instead of it being, each link being 10 millimeters, now each link is 5 millimeters. So there's just a lot more articulation. It adheres and moves with your wrist a lot more freely. They're just fantastic. So that's another thing that's changed as I gently move the dial and hands into place and get it set. Now what you do here, or at least what I do, is I get it started, and you can see it's very slightly off. And that's okay because I haven't pushed that hand all the way seated. So it's still just barely on that wheel. And so I can very carefully line it up properly before I fully seat it. So we're going to now get that set. Outstanding. Okay. Now, once we have that, it's important to make sure that they're flat, because you don't want the hands to either hit the dial or the other hand. So it's important that those are very, very flat. And that's why that tool does such a great job. There is a manual way of doing it, and this is a manual hand setter. And I do use that from time to time to get things started, but I typically finish it off and put the, put the full seating on with the tool itself, because then I know it's going to be very, very flat. And let's see how we did here. Straight north and south. All right. Now I'm going to do a little bit of tweaking to the positioning of the dial, and that's great. Because again, what all this is, what I'm trying to make sure is there's alignment of everything. So the hands are aligned to the dial. Then once the dial and the movement are cased, then the hands and the case are aligned to the bezel so that each of the markers are aligned on the main, the main 12, 3, 6, and 9 points. So all these things are very, very important. And what I just did was I've got enough little play, if you will, on the movement feet where I can very, very, very slightly turn the dial just ever so small amount to make sure that all of these alignments within the text are straight on too. So this one looks really good. It's just part of the process. I get folks that say, well, how long does it take you to assemble? And you know what? That answer always varies. It just totally depends on what I might encounter. And there are times where there's no problems, no issues whatsoever, and everything moves, pretty quickly. And then there's other times where what you just saw, maybe the alignment is slightly off, or the movement is not, the automatic or the keyless works aren't working, or the automatic works aren't working. There's just some little thing that goes on that always takes a few more minutes. And so it's hard to answer the question. You can see in these videos that I do on assembly, and right now, whoops, I'm using the wrong side. All I'm doing is getting this kind of seated. Oh, there goes Rothko. And then again, once I have it, I can get the right amount of tension on it with the tool. All right, let's see. That's pretty good, but the second hand, and I don't know, maybe some folks don't like showing all this, but I'm going to show everybody because this is the stuff that I do every day. This second hand, even though there's clearance, it is slightly turned down. So I'm going to just very, very slightly there, now we've got good clearance and it's nice and flat. So let's see if I can capture that on the video here. You want that, again, the minute hand to slide underneath there without any issues so it doesn't catch. And we'll see your spring to life. A little bit of power still left in the movement just from, I don't know, me moving it around and stuff like that. So again, every time you move your wrist on an automatic watch, it's winding it. So there's why there's some power in there. All right. Next, let's get this stem cut to length. So I'm going to remove the stem and the temporary crown. There's a little spring tension that holds the stem inside the movement. So let me take and simply remove this shipping crown. All right, then there's another tool here we're going to use to cut this one to length. It's going to be a little bit off camera, but I'll move some things around here. This little stem cutting tool is way more effective than using what I used to do on every single one, was I would measure them via these calipers, and then I would mark it with a marker, and then I would cut it with some snips, right? Some snips, and then I would file it with a file. So that gets dramatically reduced by using the tool here. So let's see, you can see there's all of these marks down here, and then there's a fine tuning mark here where you can see the different names of the pieces are listed here. So I get it basically to the point that I want it to be at. And then we cut it down. All right. And there's the there's how much we cut off. All right, I put this, got a little place where I keep all of my stems. I'm going to do a contest someday. I've got, oh, sorry about that. I got about 9 years of stems down in the this certain area in my bench, and one day I'm going to do a contest and just ask folks, show you a picture, how many you think there are, and then I'll count them and, you know, award someone something. Now, the problem with that is I got to count all those stems, and like I said, there's 9 years worth of them. What I'm doing right now is putting a little bit of Loctite on the end of this stem, so that way when you're turning the stem in either direction, it doesn't unwind itself or unseat itself. So we'll get this screwed down, and I'll get the excess. So you can see that. There we go. And I'll wipe the excess off here. All right. Now we're going to take a look at the dial. So this one is, it's a really unique dial. It's not sunburst, but it's also not flat. I'm not quite sure what to call it. It's just a radiant color, and it captures light. Again, it's not matte, but it is, or flat rather. It's not flat, but it is not sunburst like, oh, some of the other dials that I produce. So it's a really cool color, and you know, the folks, this has been, this particular version has been the most popular with people so far. In the early days, it's only been a few weeks of what was originally the pre-order, and then, you know, starting the 21st of February, they're going to just go regular, no more pre-order, because I've got enough built where I'm shipping them. So I'm taking the crystal. I've got this Rodico, which is just a little sticky substance, which I'm looking at. Sorry, I'm off camera here, but I'm looking at the dial, or the crystal rather, and making sure there's nothing underneath it, so when I case it, everything is nice and clean. All right, that looks good. Doing the same thing with the dial. The slate gray is a linen texture, and the brown is more of a kind of a flat brown. I think they look really good. I hope y'all, you know, I would love to hear from feedback. I hope y'all like them too. The orange one here, the 40 acres, like I said, has been the most popular so far. And we'll see if that continues. So what I'm going to do is get these. You can barely see underneath here, but the 12, 3, 6, and 9 have little tiny notches underneath this double stick tape. And I want to make sure that that is aligned, because when I do actually put the bezel on, you can see where these loom points are on the 12, 3, 6, and 9. So these are actually luminous on the 40 acres. The loom is actually built up, and so there's a slight, you know, raised area in each one of those. So I just want to make sure I've got enough room in the channel that supports that. Otherwise, it'll be a little bit wonky, and we certainly don't want that. So that will be a next step. But first, I do a little visual inspection, make sure there's nothing underneath that crystal. I don't want any lint. Winter times sometimes a little bit tougher because of static electricity. Down here in Austin, we've usually got, you know, pretty decent humidity, so it doesn't present too much of an issue, but some days it can be. It's pretty cold right now, so, but no problem. Good humidity here in the shop. Okay, crown is seated. Now I'm going to put the movement holder in. The other update or change is now these deliver with a nylon strap. So the 40 acres, this orange one, delivers with this really nice hook and loop strap. I've had that on the Mabry for the last, what has it been? Year, I guess. I've had the Mabry out for about a year and a half. It comes with the a white hook and loop style strap, super comfortable, and I think it complements just the white accents on the Travis 40 acres. The other two come with a seatbelt style strap, and those are really, really interesting. They're super comfortable, and man, I've not usually been a big fan of nylon pass-through straps, just for my own personal taste. I'm a kind of a bracelet guy, or, well, if you can see here, I'm teaching myself how to make leather straps. Now, this looks like a third grader did it. The first one I made looked like a first grader did it, so I think I'm getting better. But I'm going to shoot a video of this process too, but this is, the reason I'm wearing this is I'm trying to teach myself how to make leather straps. And for those of you that do produce straps, man, my hat's off to y'all. It is not easy. It looks a lot easier than what it is. I can't tell you how many countless YouTube videos I've watched trying to help get myself, educated on it. I'm putting the movement holder screws in right now. But it is a definite process and not the easiest thing to do. But I bought, a template or a couple templates. I'm learning as I go, and so like I said, I'm going to share a little bit more in a video, and we'll see. Maybe I'll make some straps available in the accessory shop that are going to be pretty special and unique, because they're going to be very, very limited, and again, made by yours truly. So, all right, let's give it a little power. We spin this up, 20, 25 times to make sure there's good amplitude, good power inside that spring. Now that the movement holder and the movement screws are attached to that, it's all basically one piece now. So there shouldn't be any movement when you go about, moving the stem in any way. So the crown rather, or stem. So the date flips very rapidly. Then whenever you're moving the hands, there shouldn't be any jiggle or movement in the dial itself. And that's a testament to making sure this is kind of all, basically one piece. So let me screw the crown down. And then what I'm going to do now is take it over to the timing machine, and I'm going to time this thing so that it is within tolerance. Like I said, I typically get them about +2 when they leave the shop in one position. But nonetheless, well, I tell you what, before I do that, let me get this bezel, because I think once I get the bezel on, I'll probably do the timing off camera, just because I've got my camera set up right now on a specific little arm. It's not the easiest thing to take off and move. So this is just a double stick tape. It's waterproof though, so it's not going to be affected by taking this thing in the lake, in the ocean, in the swimming pool, whatever the case is. So bear with me as I look this over, and I got to make sure this gets aligned perfectly, so I'm going to have to move it over for just a second so my head doesn't hit the camera. But this gets set into place and examine. Now this is a 120 click bezel, so it does have some really good action on it, and once it's in place, oh, that's a good sound. Let's just ASMR a little bit here. A jumpy camera and clicking sounds. That's a good combo, hopefully. Okay, so that's in place, and one more click, right? There we go. Looks good from this view. Like I said, next thing we'll do is time the thing, make sure it's accurate, and then there's a silicone little bit of silicone grease that I put on the silicone gasket, and then the case back. And it's tightened with another tool, but I don't think that there's much more to show you on this. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Do let me know if you have any questions. The Mark II Travis is now out, the 3 colors. Really cool bracelet, still full DLC coated for the D-Protect, the changeable end links, the D-Change. The strap has a 10mm micro adjustment in it. And that micro adjustment's a little bit tighter than the previous one, so that way it doesn't inadvertently kind of close in on itself. So a little bit of improvement on that one as well. So again, I just try to make little slight improvements as I go along, and hopefully y'all enjoy it. Alrighty, thank you all so much for watching, and y'all take care. We'll see ya.